Welcome, everybody. Nice to be here again with old friends and new friends. All the new friends, always, every second. And today we are discovering, in fact, very amazing gene key. The one I found very profound, the 24th gene key. 24th, yes.
24.
The key silence.
Thank you.
Silence. Silence. And the key of addiction. And the key of how our mind works and how it creates all patterns for us. So we have these days till the 3rd of May an opportunity to really see very clear our patterns and how our mind structure works and to make a breakthrough. Yeah. And all go deeper into addiction, what we choose. And as always, we're starting with the shadow. Then at some point, we're making space for questions and contemplations and sharings. And I feel even today, when we will have a little break, I will ask you to do a little exercise. If you have any pen and paper, you can use this. If you not, you can just use your phone, wherever you can write down. Just I will explain later. And yeah, and then Martin.
Welcome. Welcome back.
Helps us serve as a team in his profound way. And we're starting. Yeah, if you want to use it in time, you can use it again. And today we are in the transition of 24th gene key, the key of the mind, the key of invention, the key of the silence, and the key of addictions, the key of the way how our mind patterns work and how mind works itself. So I would say this key gives us opportunity to really transmute our stories, our patterns, and embody the high awareness and high consciousness. We're ready for it. And it starts with addiction. And it's the codon ring of life and death. So again, this key is showing us the possibility of transmutation and awakening and going beyond the cycle of love and death, experiencing eternal life. And I don't know why, but today I feel very, when I see all of you here, I feel very like I just want to laugh. I don't know. Feels like I see how we are doing this through centuries and like past lives and like different clothes, different like environments, same awareness.
Is it something to do with the?
Yeah, this also reminds me something. I don't know. Just want to laugh, honestly. And yeah, just this whole combination of different ingredients.
Different shaped dyes in those times.
And I would say this key can be very dark if we stay in a shadow, but we also could see it as the light itself, as when we merge with silence, as we will see when we go into city, we just connect with the God itself that can be found only in silence. And I invite us now just to close our eyes for a second, for a moment. Just to take a deep breath. Feeling the lungs. Feeling the air moving through us. Feeling all the elements. feeling our presence here. And if you want, you can create an intention for this process, or just stay open to receive whatever aligns with your soul, with your heart. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we are starting with the 24 shadow addiction. So this key represents how we perceive information and how we digest it, how we work with information, what we do to download kind of different information, or even actualize it, the way how our thinking works. And addiction, this shadow, is not only addiction as we might think itself, as a example, drug addiction or alcohol or smoking, or addiction to work, addiction to sex. Basically any addiction is rooted in this shadow. And there can be so many varieties of them. One of my addiction is definitely addictions to tea. Yeah, it's when I have a pause from tea, I feel my system recalibrating. So now I'm learning how to engage with it, but differently, and poses and structure kind of the way of connecting with tea, because it's caffeine. And it's also how I found connecting with the fake feeling of feeling safe in a body. That it's not tea like giving, but I kind of observed how this worked in my system. And while we're in this transition of this key, we have opportunity to really observe our mind, to see which patterns we keep repeating. And normally, our patterns, our stories, we're so rooted with them, we're so identified with them, that we fully believe that, oh, this is me. But I would say when we're now in the energy of this key, if we give more awareness and more space for ourselves, and more space maybe for meditation and silence and observation, we might find these deep patterns. And then when we found them, then we're able to change them. And if to say very shortly, addiction lies in our fear to stay in the gap, to stay in the moment, not thinking, to stay in the pose that life sometimes naturally creates for us. And this key is connected with our brain and how our brain works, and with synapses processes in our brain. And it's said that, so basically depends on our genetic, we will either have tendency to more logical way of approaching information and thinking, or to more like artistic and right side of the brain. But what makes this shadow to be shadow, what creates addiction, is not only the way how we think, but the thinking process itself. So when we contemplate the shadow, we might go deeper from, for example, physical addictions and the patterns, to seeing that the process of thinking itself is the root of addiction. And why it's so? So when we, what this shadow is saying to us, that,
Can you pause on that?
yes,
And say that again. It's the process.
Yes, the process of thinking is addiction itself, because when we think, we connecting ourselves to some stories, identification with the self itself, and we creating thinking because we just can't stay in this gap where there is no thoughts and there is nothing, but just pure presence. But because it's so uncomfortable for us, and we will explore later why this is so uncomfortable, we create thinking is a way to avoid the silence. So if we look deeper in the skill, we'll find the thinking, the mechanism of thinking itself is the process of avoiding the silence. That might be very uncomfortable for us, but this is what liberates us. And yeah, the modern society where we live, we have do so many things, think, organize, plan, and then we just always, I would say, this trap where this key is showing us how it can be differently. And it says also that, yeah, like it starts also in our brain. And then what happens is that when life gives us possibility of this gap, we either numb ourselves or we create external actions. Like we need to do something, or we need to again think about something, or we need to message, or we need to check Instagram, or like we need any way to distract with ourselves. And then why then the poses are so discomfortable for us? That's what we will discover today. And also, while in this energy, I also invite you to see, to feel, to observe what are your addictions, and also this addiction to thinking itself. Something else I want to say about the shadow. Yeah, as I said, we either can be have more tendency to logic or to artistic, but the thing is that imagine that the piano, and there are so many like there are notes and different combinations of them, and then how we can play variety of so many different songs and the sounds, but the addiction will make sure that we use like the one loop and constantly repeating and playing it over and over again, and we don't see that in fact there is like this whole board I can use. But because of the way how we've been programmed genetically, and also through their parents, ancestors, through the way what we inherited, this is going to be the way how we approach ourselves, the life environment, and what create our mental paradigm. And then we have these ideas about life, or like this our mental paradigm, and then we go into life and we try to find people who like think the same, and then we call them friends, or like that this person I feel connection with, and then this different paradigm, then like we feel not good. And I remember a long time ago I was in the tantric workshop, and we had to do some pair practices of working with shadow, like, and the teacher, she said like we had to do exercise where we would just stand and go in the circles, and then find just to feel where naturally we feel connection with to go. But she also said, if you want really go deeper, because it's a shadow work, shadow exercise, go to the person that like annoys you the most. Like you just feel, look at this person and you feel like kind of you just hate without any reason. This kind of invitation, you don't have to do this, but if you really want to go deep, this would recommendation. Of course, I found the person who I didn't like the most. Oh, it was not you, it was years ago.
You were saying I was
No, I was, I don't know, 7 years ago. And yeah, so because when we can experience something that outside of our comfort zone and our thinking and our mental structure, then we can find out something about ourselves, about life, and in fact expand our awareness. Then if we stay in the pattern and make sure that like we always stay in this pattern. I would say that the human like mind, our ego is always want to make sure that I'm repeating the same patterns and like my life is what I think about it, and like I want to control and make sure that like this was happening. But life is always provoking us and making us go beyond our stories and limitations and see the variety of everything. And we're always fighting because we want things to be like this certain way as we believe it should be. Yeah. And this is the story of the human being itself. And then we can see how, in fact, deep this key is. And then when we realize its potential, its power, the invention, not even the city, but just the gift, even invention, we can already reinvent ourselves, reinvent our life. Just again, I remember now a story when here in Bali, it was a time when I was working with one teacher, and she's a beautiful quantum being that was always provoking and expanding awareness the way it's beyond any limits. And she was always saying about provocation, that life will always provoke you. But it's up to you how you deal with this. Either you react or you accept it, or you even create provocations for yourself. And I remember when there was something when I was in the studying, and I was kind of constantly choosing the provocations and the uncomfortable situations that will make me see absolutely differently and go beyond myself, like go beyond my stories of myself.
Consciously or subconsciously?
Consciously. I mean, subconsciously and consciously that I was choosing, okay, I will go in this situation because this is where I know I will provoke myself. And it's like super uncomfortable for my mind, but I know this is kind of going out like for somewhere with intention that I'm focusing on what will provoke me, or like which person will provoke me, like kind of going to uncomfortable to be able to see these all limitations and be free from them, and see in fact how limited I was in all this story, because that's what safety is, what mind think, but in fact it's not. Yes.
And this is a green tea, very fresh and wakes you up.
And is an interesting word, especially the way you pronounce it, because of the V. Is it over chaos? Like you go to the situation that provokes you, or do I go to the situation that creates a little chaos and familiarity or my way of thinking?
Yeah, I would say everything that really provokes us is in a way creates chaos for our mind because it imagine like I go in this direction, for example, like go, and then there is some provocation from life, and it's something that for me uncomfortable or not familiar or something that I don't want to accept the way it is, and or my mind believe it's wrong. But if I can accept the provocation, then basically I can experience something that is either, yeah, it can be something, my shadows that I don't want to see, but it's, of course, it's creating chaos because I had to go like out of my way, like I had to expand and I had to, допустить, как это сказать? I had to, допустить. I had to allow myself to think, or I have to allow to see that there is some another way. I have to accept that there are different pathways and there is something that beyond my understanding, but doesn't mean it's wrong, but I can learn something from it. And but for the structure, for example, that I have, like the idea that I have in my mind, it will create a chaos because what the chaos is, the chaos is creating a new order. It's like there is a structure of something, then the chaos is coming because it's reorganizing the original structure that exists to create a new order. And then we have new order and like the new structure. But life is always keeping us provoking because in fact it's even the nature of Shakti or feminine. Again, just remembered when I was first studying the Mahavidyas, it's the goddesses and the 10 Mahavidyas, and long time ago they said that don't even try to understand it with your mind, like not to me, like to all people, because when you connect with Shakti, it's a chaos. And especially was saying to men that like you can never understand it. The more you try to create a structure and control it, the more you suffer. Because it's not to be controlled and not to be like but by the nature, the Shakti, the life will always kind of try to destroy to create a new order, because it's always wants to create. But the mind and the masculine is, it wants to, okay, this order, it works, don't touch it. It's like, because like this, how I feel safe. But this is not how life exists in a way. So we have to accept and surrender, and we have to surrender that, okay, in this moment, I can have understanding of something, but this is very little, in fact, this very little bit. And I'm not making it like my universal truth. For a moment, why I feel like the life, the flow of life is moving me with it, and I feel call in my heart. Yes, I can explore it, kind of believe in it. But if the life will show me something else or will provoke me and make me question something, then I'm ready to let go, and I'm ready to rethink about everything, and I'm ready to let go something that maybe was like my deep beliefs. But the life can show that you still need to let it go, because like the chaos of life is coming to create a new order. So today we can create a new order.
We're only in the shadow. But like we're here.
Yeah, so the more we can accept this, that like the life is always kind of dancing, creating different structures, and they're all temporary. In fact, there's one of the jinkies. In fact, you have it in your sexual wound and in your lesson in relationship. 60 jinki, the key of structures. And this key that loves structures. And it's we need structures sometimes in our life, because like for example, to create this usad, like the place, it has to be structured. It has to be the place physical, it has to be the team, the person who created the menu and everything. But we can ask Martin how much chaos he was going through through these years.
It's a a good lesson in finding the balance between creating structure and also surrendering on a deep level, for sure.
She's allowing the shop to be in.
Yeah, but actually, like how our team works is very much like an act of surrender. Putting the right people, putting the right structure, but letting the people that work here actually find the best way, you know. But with a clear framework and a building and you know,
A framework structure.
but trying to control it like you would in Switzerland or Norway. That's
The Shakti like die.
but I knew that
Zero,
coming here.
zero Shakti.
My hard lessons were in Canggu, where I
Your
had,
what?
my hard lessons in that regard was in Canggu, where I had another restaurant. That's where I learned, and then I could bring it here.
Okay.
Which restaurant?
Tea house.
No, it's called Beach Garden. Beach Garden. It was a restaurant in Batu Belong.
You did tea in Django.
Is that the
Well,
one
we
with the
did have
tree?
we did have a like a tea menu and all the tea sets, but I was the only one using it, so I was a bit ahead of my time in Canggu.
You were there
You were the
for
prophecy.
the real stress.
You
Yeah,
started
but
the
this was
tea wave.
2017 until 2019, so it was like just as Canggu was like taking
Yeah,
off.
just before it got
Yeah.
shortcutted and.
Yeah.
And this one actually was so sweet. It turned sweet.
Yeah, it's
So bitter to sweet.
it's a very
Yeah.
green tea, and it has that like grassy flavor. For me, it's like a little metallic, but the second brew came out. Often the second brew like is the best brew, like it kind of has a really feel the flavor. Yeah.
We're like cows.
Well, we'll be going to discussing when I would want to
Yeah.
finish something before we continue the conversation. That, yeah, when I was saying that there is a key basically designed for creative structures, the 60 gene key. It's like kind of 60, yeah. It's like we
Realistic.
need to have a structure and kind of to ground something in matter. And but the funniest thing that in a human design, it's a channel 360. It's like it connects. The third is the sacral center, the 60 is the Manipura, and you have in fact this channel in your life, and so it connects the third, the chaos,
I know it's secret.
and 60 the structure. And it said itself that whenever structure you create, it always be dissolved by chaos, because the point of the message of the skill, like any structure is temporary. If you try to make it like for forever, for all life, and try to make it work, then the structure, you will see that the structure, like the flow of life is not coming through it anymore. So at some point you will have to dissolve it. And then if you try to grab on it, then where the suffering comes. So even, and with this click, how it connects with 24, all the structures we created about ourselves, about life, or the ideas, any structure serves us to a certain point until the life is kind of provoking us to let it go, or to see from a different angle, and to approach it another way, another perspective. And if we can be like okay with it, if we can just allow ourselves always to surrender, then we will have no problems. But the problem is that whenever we create some ideas, we believe that it's forever truth. By grace, or I don't know, by my past lives or whatever, I had this, I don't know, attitude maybe that in my life I've been discovering different traditions, like I had this always kind of attitude that when I choose something, I go and I kind of dive deeper there. But it's till the time when I feel like it's enough, it's done. And then I kind of go like dissolve, and I can completely lost any interest. Like for example, it was human design. I was like consulting for several years, and I had like my schedule was booked like for 2 months in advance. I had like people waiting for a session, and I was very popular at the time. But then at some point I felt it's enough, and then the jinkies came, and then the other things, and then I was been discovering Tantra, and then I also let it go, and then Buddhism, and then like some things stay, some things changed. So, and I found it very helpful when I feel my soul is calling me towards something, I go there and I let myself kind of merge with it. Because this is the only way how I can really understand, explore.
Is that in what country were you popular?
Human design?
Human design.
I was in Russia at the time. Yeah. And then like when life is saying, okay, we go further, then I go further. And kind of feeling that whatever will need to remain, it will remain. Whatever will have to go, it will go. So what's the point of trying to like hold it, to keep on something, to grasp on something?
And you maybe don't talk about it, it just integrates into your daily words,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
don't say you.
Yes, yes. And sometimes it's like some tips that helpful, but I don't need to have sessions. And even I remember a long time ago when I was consulting and I had one person, a client, and she asked me a question. She's like, but how you can do it? Like how you can be sure that you will do it till the rest of your life? Because her mind wanted safety. She was about to change her career and she wanted a safety. She was like, okay, if I found a new path, kind of, I want to make sure that I will do it like till I kind of die. And I said to her, well, I know that I'm not going to do it till the rest of my life. She was so shocked, like kind of, but how? And I said, but just because I know it, that it's not going to be forever. And I know it because I just kind of have had this whatever prophecy or seen, but doesn't mean that I will not give all my energy to it right now. It doesn't mean that I will like study like just 50%. No, I went fully. I was like studying for like, I don't know, 24 hours for years because I really wanted to understand. So I was really going very deep. And then life said, okay, now it's enough at some point. So how we can be with life and what life is giving to us and be 100% with it. And then when life is saying, okay, it's time to go, then we can go, knowing that it's always going to be 100%. That I'm never losing anything. In fact, I'm just expanding my awareness and I can learn something that was out of my comfort zone. And I feel something else I want to share about the shadow is that, yeah, like the way how we think and also how we try to understand the reality is what also is addiction. Because we feel unsafe if we don't understand something. Because we think that, oh, if I don't understand, I can't control it. And if I can't control it, no matter if it's like my partner or whatever, my work, my house, my body, anything that we believe I kind of own or like it's external and I connected with this. We think that if I don't understand it, then I can control it, then it can take over me. If I don't control my house, it will like, I don't know, will die, something will go bad. If I don't control my relationship, then like it will take over me or like I will lose my freedom or something else. Like if I don't control my work, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to be no clients or whatever, no business. And we put in too much pressure. And when we don't see that the life is moving, like there's a structure, then there is a gaps that naturally occurs. And in these gaps, inventions are happening. That's creating a new pathways. But because we don't let these gaps to happen, because we're too much addicted to control all this, then there's no inventions. Because we just stuck in this, like the way how we believe things should be. And then we feel kind of very, in fact, we're making ourselves be not free. We're making ourselves limited in a prison of our mind because we don't even open the doors, we don't open the pathways. And so we're using, like there is a piano, but we're using the one note and we're like, this is what I will do till the rest of my life. And we believe that if somebody plays differently, it's wrong. When this key is inviting us to see that there is like the whole melody of life, and we can explore this. And we had to let go our addiction to thinking process itself. And if we see in the shadow, we will see there are always two varieties of shadow. One type of the shadow is numbness. It's frozen. It happens though when we feel this gap, that in fact activating the deep spheres, we will see later which ones, we numb ourselves. We're going to get frozen. Our body frozen, our emotions frozen, and like then we, for example, if we need to act, we will not act. Like if we need to say something, we not say. We kind of stay in this frozenness.
So common in the nervous system, vagus nerve talking, that whole the freeze.
Wow, this is
Freeze or fawn, saying.
yeah. And the second way is reactivity. When we react on the sphere, and then we try to create any activities, and even like sport can be addiction. The funny thing that even creation of something can also be addiction if it's made from a space of not being able to stay in silence, or like in these gaps. And when we go deeper to the shadow, it's invitation to look through the jinkies to the perspective it called the teaching of seven bodies and the Christ corpus, the way how Richard Rod named it. So it's basically he explains that there are 7 bodies, and the first, of course, we feel suffering in our physical body. And like this kibble, basically what it's doing, addiction, it tries to avoid suffering. It tries to makes us to do anything to avoid feeling of suffering. Either it's numbness or it's like external actions. But he said, okay, first we can feel the suffering of our physical body. But where it lies deeper, it's our astral body, our emotional body. And I really like the way how we describe there that it is, in fact, the core, the root of the suffering itself is the desire to stop suffering and connect, merge back with consciousness of the source, to feel the oneness, to feel the purity of soul, to feel the love. But at the same time, on a individual perspective, we have the suffering and pain of this separation from reality. And then what we try to do, we either numb ourselves to not feel it, or we create all the addictions and the way how we disturb ourselves. Yes, sorry. Here.
This is a traditional Tiguan Yin. It's an oolong tea. It's quite roasted. It's very smooth and mellow. Kuan Yin is the goddess of mercy and also of tea, which always called in party ceremonies. Guide us, me, feel into your heart when they drink this one.
And so coming back to the astral body and the desire of the unity, we would say, with God, with consciousness, with source, that if we were just able to stay in the silence and let ourselves to feel this desire without acting, just fully being with this desire, it will burn itself. And this is how it's supposed to happen, that we just stay with it until it burns itself. But because we react, or we like separate ourselves from it, we close from that desire, and then from the suffering that's also there, then this all the addictions kind of happen and distractions. But and the other thing is that we have mental body, and when we feel these emotions and desire, we immediately connect our mental body with the emotional body, and then we have this loops, thoughts, and ideas like, oh, I need to do this right now, or I need to eat, like, for example, this chocolate, or I need to speak to this person, or I want divine being, or I want this work, or I want this to happen. And if it comes from the love and from the reaction on this desire, then it's again the way how we destruct them. Yeah, how we create destruction. And the silence, all these gaps that are happening, and that this key is showing us, when sometimes just the life kind of inviting you to silence, and it normally happening kind of out of nowhere. It's not that you planned. You can just find yourself in these moments, and if you let's stay in them, this is what rewind your nervous system, the way how your brain works, and create new pathways, and like kind of activating this breakthrough that activates awakening.
What is it burning? I like that when you say it's burning, you know, stay in the silence and it burns through. It burns through
Just
drops, you know, but yeah, but it's burning.
nothing, just my consciousness itself, our presence,
The thought itself.
our
The thought of the
Thought
process.
itself.
our presence itself it burns. It's like it's the desire, and desire is fire itself. But when we bring consciousness into this, that is our presence, and we can just sit with it, then we not reacting on this desire, but we just let it kind of burn itself. And we will feel like we're burning too, because then all our stories, all our addictions will show up, all our way how we will distract ourselves. But if you just let be with it, then we will see that there is no need, in fact, to read. Like kind of there is no need to go outside of my center in a way, because I can experience life being fully grounded in my center without being dragged in any polarities or creating any stories about something, but experience everything from pure presence. Again, just remind me of once in a workshop, there's something happened where I had was like a deep practice with my teacher, and then at some point I kind of went into space of no thoughts. It was just a pure like presence itself, and there were no thoughts appearing about anything, and no like loops of nothing. And then I was just present. There was a group of people, and then we were like, after practice, we had this kind of a gap where somebody could ask questions or share their feedbacks. And I was just sitting there present. And then at some point, I observed how my body raised a hand. And that's like my system kind of wanted to share something. I had zero idea, because there's not that I thought about this, and it's just happened. And then when the turn came to me, and I was observing that the sharing process was happening, but it was not kind of me involved in that. There was not like Katya who wanted to say something, ask questions. There was just some process happening, and kind of let's say me sharing about this and seeing that the thought, it comes from no, like not a thought, but what's been like kind of a different type of thought, I would say, that was coming from nowhere. It's not limited by any experiences, by any past, by any narrative patterns. It felt like a, like like a air, like a fresh air that's coming, and there's nothing that like I can't attach it to anything, and there's no need for attach it to anything. It's just like pure thought, not even thought, I don't know how to name it, but like a pure energy that expresses itself through words, kind of to share with others. And that what the teacher reflected back to me. She said that this is what the kind of the wisdom, this is spatial wisdom, where there is a divine source. And if we see in this this teaching of 7 bodies, this would be in a Atman body, the pure mind, the state of pure mind. Like the mental body is the mind that is limited by all this. Like the mental body is what, how to say, it's kind of created by our patterns and connected with the astral body, with the emotions. So we have there like this brewing process of reactivity of emotion and stories. But the Atman body is where there is a divine thought, the pure thoughts, and it's coming in a moment when it's needed, and then it goes, and it's just like a wind that's passing through you. And it's the way how, like, kind of the thing, my higher consciousness expresses itself. And
Is that what you call the center? And you were saying remain, like,
yes, in a way. Okay. I just look now at this. Yeah, like, oh my god, there's 3 cups. Like, what's going on? It's just.
I do keep wondering.
You've been very engrossed in addiction here. To lots of tea here.
It's like just keep growing.
This one more and more and more.
Yeah, and so maybe we have now a space for your questions or feedbacks. And in fact, before we do this, I would love to invite you for the little practice to connect with yourself, with your presence, with your heart, and to ask yourself a question and let the divine guide you to see what are 3 main patterns of the loops of my mind I'm repeating in my life. What are these 3 main patterns of the loops of my mind I'm keep repeating in my life? Are they some ideas about myself or about life or about, I don't know, the way how spirituality should be, anything? I can repeat the question if you're ready. Yeah, I would suggest to write down, as it's can be maybe sometimes easier to.
Oh, can I borrow maybe a page from you? That's okay.
You want us to repeat in our mind the what?
She's asking.
Could I borrow a page from you?
We have to repeat in our mind.
What are the 3 patterns or stories that you keep looping in your mind?
Oh, 3.
Well, if you have more, you can find more.
10 stories probably.
Then write down so you can share later.
I know all of them.
You don't have any.
It's okay, I will have them in my mind. It's okay.
What are 3 or 5 main loops of my mind, of stories I repeat to myself?
Like addictions.
Yeah, my addictions.
Okay.
And you don't need to think about it, just let it kind of come through you. What are your ways of avoiding this gap and silence? I have 1 minute, and then I will make this bell. If you're ready, if everybody's ready, then we can start sharing. And if you don't want to share, you cannot share. You can share some of them. If you want to share, you can share. You can keep it for yourself. And ask, as this is space now for your questions and contemplation. You can ask anything. You can share it. You can share anything that's connected with this key and with your addictions and your silence.
It's funny because I mean, the mind stuff, I've been looking at it very closely for a while. But I think it was just a few days ago or last week, I was looking in my family, there is a lot. There's very
Back in the recording.
And on to what part?
As what he said about the addiction to pain. And this is exactly what I've been telling before about this astral body and this desire to merge with the like divinity that is also has this pain of the core wound. That if we look in there, like what the Jinky says to us, the perspective of Jinky, that we all have core wound that was made from the moment of conception. And so the core wound is the way how we, through which we create suffering as a way to separate from divinity. As we had to kind of separate in a way to begin an individual incarnation, even if it's illusion, but this illusion that we believe in. And so then this pain is also is a kind of all this core wound is a fuel that gives us also this desire to merge with eternity. That kind of we don't need to react on it, and we don't need to avoid it. We just kind of need to let it burn itself. In a way, need this addiction burn itself, or need this pain burn itself. Seen as just like as a mechanism of, as I said, this, for example, if we look in the core wound, how I feel I disconnected from source, it's what creates me a core of suffering, and how I can be with it without doing anything. Not like believing on it, not avoiding, just completely like looking at it, like for example, yeah, like they look now on this crystal, and that this my presence will in fact would activate this alchemy process where it starts to kind of vaporize it. It's literally vaporizing, and then it's burning itself to the moment when it's going. But staying in this is absolutely, it's very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to put consciousness in it. So being aware of the patterns and then being able to sit in it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome, share.
I can show. So the three patterns that came up for me immediately, like without thinking of it, was this loop of always like thinking like what's next. Like it's kind of a deep like survival, like it's a deep like survival, I guess, mechanism. Always thinking about like what I'm gonna do next, and always having all these plans. That's very, at least in the second, which is this always ever present feeling of some level of exhaustion, like fatigue. And I think it's caused by my overthinking feeds into this like feeling of underlying fatigue that's there in like varying degrees at any time. And the third pattern that came up was this presence. Actually, when I get out and I move and I can be very present with the beauty of everything, like seeing the beauty. Those are the three loops that came up, and I think it's like what I got from everything you were telling was this importance of the finding comfort in the silence. And just this morning, like I woke up, I didn't feel so good. Like I was just like, and the whole morning I was just in this like feeling of unease, not really wanting to do anything, but just also feeling like uneasy. And like, and then I also have a history of addiction. Like in the old days, like if I was feeling like this, I could easily like go out and like start drinking for lunch, for instance, you know, I would do that. But now I was today, like I just recognized that that feeling of unease is there, and then I do my meditation, I do my bell, I do. So by the time I come here and have 15 minutes before you arrive, like I get into this very beautiful state of meditation, which is still with me as we're going through this session. And yeah, like this is about finding that beauty, like that loving, starting to love those moments of silence, you know. And when I did the dark retreat, I did the 7-day here back in October, and then I really noticed, because there's nothing else, and then I noticed like the addiction to thoughts, and I just wasn't able to stop it. It was just like for 3 or 4 days, it was just, and I would think through because I couldn't stop them and my meditation was not good, so I just spent 3 or 4 days just thinking through every little detail of my life, maybe back those 14, 15 years.
Wow.
And that was like, you know, in a sense, it was great because it just brought up, but I allowed myself to just think in detail until my mind was so exhausted that like I just I couldn't think anymore. Like, and then there was silence. And then I had like, on the 5th day, it was like this kind of beautiful day where I went into this kind of semi-psychedelic state, I would say. Yeah. It was interesting to just watch myself, how I could not stop my thoughts. I mean, yeah.
Do you have food?
Well, we
Recording. What's about the middle part? But
Okay,
in fact,
explain.
but in fact, it's a beautiful question what you asked, because it's reminds me of something I forget to share about the ski. That's the shadow level of the addiction is the gravitation.
is
Gravitation.
Moving toward.
No, gravitation is down. It's like we gravitated toward the earth. It's like heaviness. And it's interesting, it said like the ski on the shadow, it's kind of how we find a way between gravitation and levitation, because there are patterns that make us more heavier, that create more gravitation, kind of all in our addictions, basically, where we're not free from is gravitation. And the shadow is what draining us down. It's like the shadow of the ski is like how we dig in a hole for ourselves. And with addiction, we're bringing ourselves deeper and deeper in these holes. When there's levitation, or like levitation patterns, like the patterns when we let the gaps happen, and like, as I said, this wind of life come where there's a new thoughts, there's new pathways, where we're doing something differently, where our awareness expands, then this would lift up our spirit. And if also saying to your question that there is no problem with ritual, but there is a question is how you can still feel peace and happiness without the ritual. Even, for example, there is like a day where something happened and you don't have time to do the ritual. Can you still feel happy? Can you still find the peace in your mind? Can you still find stability? Because if not, that's what the addiction, that was limiting your freedom and your true self. And that's, for example, what I found about the other teas when I had to, due to like some stomach conditions in November, I had to let go drinking tea for some time. I felt very uncomfortable. And that showed me that there was no freedom then. And that's a sign that, well, if I'm not free from something, then I don't want to do it anymore. And then this is how our mind works. Whenever we find something, kind of, if we give it too much attention, if too much identify ourselves with this, we lost ourselves. We dig in the hole. It's like how we can, as I said in the beginning, how we can be with something, with anything. This is what I call being the center. It's like how I can feel in a moment when I need to drink tea or when I don't. Or I can notice that it comes from addiction and I cannot drink caffeine tea, or I can drink some herbal tea, or I can drink juice or something else. And I can see what's the motivation inside of me, because the addiction will, it's what's creating a hole. And the more we let these patterns go, the deeper the hole we dig in, and this is harder to go out. And then when he's saying that should write about this shadow, he's also, as an example, he given this 12 steps program for alcoholics. And I said the first step is recognizing it help, is recognize addiction. The second step is ask for God, or ask for help, ask for some higher assistance, realizing that you can't do it yourself, because you can't. The same like you can't liberate yourself in a way your ego can't liberate itself. That's why we, let's say, in the moment of surrender, it's kind of like you realizing yourself in the gravity in that mass, and you just by seeing it, you asking for help. Is like you have to put your hand up, and then the grace will go and take your hand from the other way and like kind of get you out of it. But first you have to realize that you're in a mess. Second, you have to ask for help. And that just reminded me of, what happened once for me in ayahuasca, in fact, when it was my first ceremony. And there was a moment when I realized how deep I was in the mess, how deep I was in the ego. It's like how all the time my mind was just looping and creating different stories and distractions, when I thought I was searching for God, but I was just like entertaining my mind. And the second of realization and seeing the deep suffering and deep pain and the lie I was telling to myself all the time, the second was enough to pray, to like so genuinely pray to God, to say, please take all of it. I just want this like union. I don't need anything else. Like take all, because there is one teacher, Gurdjieff, he's not alive anymore, but he has this quote that's like
Gurdjieff.
Gurdjieff. Yeah.
Gurdjieff.
To want to liberate, first you have to realize that you're in prison. You have to really clearly see it. But the moment when you clearly see it, this second is enough. This second is what can create this like, in fact, this desire, this like wanting to break through from it. That's where like kind of this hand that's coming, that I'm done. I don't want any of this. It's like none of this, because you just, how it happened to me, I just so clearly see that all I was doing was illusion. It's like all my past lives, everything I was exploring, that's all was a lie, everything. And when I thought I was looking for God, I was just entertaining my ego, creating different stories, and in fact separating myself even more, creating even more knowledge and systems and everything in my mind. And the second of pure realization was enough to ask just to take all of it. And then it was a process of kind of destruction until this enlightenment happened, and there was just the pure light and nothing else. It's the pure silence. Because if we don't, like, this is what the shadow, in fact, this key is asking us. You have to see how deep you tamed yourself. You have to see like how you created the suffering for yourself. You have to really like look into this and stop avoid, because the shadow will always avoid. It's like, oh no, I'm good, nothing. I'm so happy, all is good. Nah. I live in Bali and my life is amazing. But like you have to see how deep you are in a mess. That's the only way how this wanting of liberation might happen in you. And then it will be enough, and then it's going to be a space for innovation. And did I answer your question?
That point is very big. That's a beautiful point.
I mean,
think collectively the whole planet's going through that.
I mean,
turning the ego over.
you answered it within 5 seconds of what you were saying, in fact, because you reminded me of what one of our brothers, Tom, shared with me when I was going through. This is the real test to see what you will choose.
Yes or no?
Yeah, brother Tom, and he's been a mentor of mine to like kind of, yeah, I could see someone who in him who had the similar tendencies to me, very mindy, very great at organizing and structuring and like intellect and all that stuff. But you know, I was completely living in stories about what it was that I needed to do and everything like that. And chances are, like, I forget where I was reading this. It's all connected to what we're speaking about, but we're always going to try and find the things where we feel safe, the easiest things for us. Like, oh, if I'm, you know, even if it's partially good, you'll still find an addiction in it, right? Like, oh, if I'm good at cooking like food or something like that, then I'm gonna make that my religion and make that my like profess it to everyone and all this stuff. But what he reminded me is that it's just, but with the tantra you're doing, with the yoga philosophy, all these things I do for a living, are you choosing consciousness first? Am I choosing my source, or am I choosing all of these things? And he showed me that I was choosing everything else but myself, ultimately, because these are not me. These are external forces at play. Things in my life taking me in different directions to teach me different things, to get me to certain places. For example, like without the Tantra, I wouldn't have probably ended up in Bali. I would never have come here, you know, but I came because there was a connection and there was some momentum there. So it's kind of like everything happens for a reason, but at the same time, remember why in the first place we've started this thing. And I think it's almost bringing up like the themes of like, yeah, existentialism and like search for meaning. What is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
Because it's going really down to like, yeah, do you know why you are here? That kind
We
of
can
thing.
make an addiction, the human mind, out of anything, because this is like how the mind is think what the safety is. But let's say, for example, the need to understand their life. But if you will see in a moment, clearly see that all the understanding, like mind, okay, if I will understand this, so I'll understand this person, if I understand this like universe, then I can feel finally peace and safety and I can relax. But if you see in a moment, there's always trying to understand, searching for meaning, separating yourself from your source. Every time, every moment you try to understand, you in fact cutting yourself from source because you're looking for meaning outside of yourself. That all of this, in fact, how you create a prison for yourself and suffering, if there's going to be a pure second when you clearly see this, you will drop it in a moment. Because you will realize that all the knowledge is just like you kind of hold a whole body on your shoulders and it's heavy, and it's also like what's great exhaustion and all these things, because this in fact is not safety, this is opposite. And but what this key is saying, we have to we need to have a willing to face our suffering. We need to stop avoid this, because the addiction is avoiding our pain or suffering, is avoiding to cease. But we have to have this willing to face it and just to stay with it without doing anything, because it can burn itself. It will burn itself if we will let it happen. And in this moment, we will feel extremely uncomfortable, and we will let ourselves feel extremely uncomfortable.
Promise? We promise? And how long will it take? Can I
She
just go
keeps
to
her promise.
Can I just go to Tiru one more time?
Yeah.
Ramona wants to tell me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going though. Don't
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of you see them, then there's no recipe. But if we go into invention, the gift, that's the more we stay in these gaps, the more this suffering is burning, the more and more it's burning. Until in the life is creating a new pathways.
Is the city,
Silence.
we getting there?
Yes.
I hope.
Yes. and we creating a new pathways where it's like in first the invention, what was beautiful about this key, it's not innovation, it's innovation. So it's not like how to say it's not like to create something new. It's invention. It means how I said, it's a way kind of how you can reinvent yourself. And what this recommendation of Richard Rod, he said, you have to kind of put, like, imagine you put a glass, like a glasses on you that sees only your addiction. You have to have the attitude when you work with the ski that I'm gonna look for all the addictions I'm creating myself, all these like loops and stories, and you have to kind of become like you want to catch all of them. And then when you caught, then you need to change the pattern. Like, for example, I've noticed, oh, I woke up this morning, I feel this like anxiety, fatigue. Okay, I'm not doing this. Means if I caught it, that I'm not doing this. Or like, I feel I want to look for Instagram. I notice I'm not doing this. So the more we do this, the more we coaching these things, the more, in fact, we bringing ourselves back into silence, and the more we able to create this invention, the new pathways, and then through this key is everything new is coming, is everything that never existed before, is a new way of living, in the new way of thinking, in the new way of being with life. It's kind of this key is the breakthrough that what's happened is in addiction, in the shadow, we go just by like circle. We repeat the same circle. When in innovation, we go through spiral. The mind is thinking goes spiral. It means it's going up and it's creating new direction, new trajectory. It's not repeating itself. It's imagine you every second reinventing yourself. And you never repeating. You don't need to hold any stories on the past. You're constantly in a like re-innovation process where you don't also hold on your thoughts. You just let the kind of they come, and when there is some structure needed, like you will create it. The life will help you to create something. Then when life will take it, the life will take it. So you don't have to worry about any of this, but you can reinvent. And in invention, it's ability to merge with these gaps of silence that literally change our nervous signals, the way how our synapses work in our brain, and creating a new pathway. And creating a new pathways.
Invention.
Yes.
I'm inventing a new tea.
You have to do it alone, you can't like.
Oh, I did it with horse.
Like have a
It's
buddy.
okay.
No, you don't need to. It's how life will present it for you.
And you call it a breakthrough?
Yeah, it's a breakthrough because this is where I go to quantum mind. If the linear mind is always like straight from past, present, future, then the quantum mind is always paradox because it's always reinventing itself.
This is a 21-year-old
Wow.
naturally aged word.
Oh,
So not cooked like the last one, but it's just aged.
beautiful.
From where?
Huh?
It hails from where?
From China, from Yunnan. Old fur is from Yunnan,
You know,
where
province.
the originally comes from. Yeah. So see how it feels in your body. This one is interesting.
You said it was naturally aged.
Where?
This one. So it's just like left. It's held in a what is
Yeah,
it?
they're stored in a case.
Yeah.
So the shoe, which we often bring, we always have a shoe and a sheng usually.
Yeah.
And the shoe is actually method they invented
Fortified.
in the 73 or something. It's quite a new method
Oh, okay.
actually to like age the tea fast, so you get that dark flavor immediately.
Oh, okay.
But
It's when you have impatience, yeah.
but the,
I was gonna say it's kind of a tantric path, that one.
but it is also developed into its own style.
Mm.
But the original way that they would make pu'er tea, which comes from Yunnan, which is the
Mm.
kind of where tea originates from in China,
Yeah.
is to store it in case. And when you drink that young, it has a very green and like not so pleasant flavor, but it develops like over time, like
Mm.
good wine, basically. Yeah.
I was gonna say that this was like the first tea I've ever had in my life, probably, where it's like I feel I'm drinking real tea.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's just kind of nothing fiddled with. It's just kind of felt real and like I don't know, went back in time somewhere.
And now it's funny
Past
also
life
about
in
this,
China.
this key and what you said
2000
about
years ago.
a tea that
About the-
what he's saying about a tea is what also in this the gift of inventions, like the more we letting go any addictions, the more we're able to experience the purest of life
Mm.
without any added kind of flavors. And
Ideas.
we had today this funny moment when I was making avocado like for the toast, and I asked my partner to put some salt and he also put a black pepper, and then I didn't like. I said like took it away because I don't want a black pepper with avocado. It's not tasty for me. And then we had this like conversation when I was saying I love to feel the pure avocado. I don't want to like all these flavors. And he has more Vedic perspective when he's like flavors. But in fact, the gift of this tea is kind of you don't need any flavors. Feel the purity of life, as this tea. Feel because this all the flavors is addiction again in our mind. Like because we try to create meanings outside of the source because we think also to stay with source is boring. It's just so simple and boring. How I can be with it. But in fact, it's so rich, and it's what the true silence, when we come into silence, what Richard Roth is saying, that the silence that human created is like digital silence. But in fact, it's like, it's kind of dry, it's empty. But the real silence is so full, it's pregnant. It's like the cosmos, it's like a feminine, it's pregnant with itself. And the seed of silence, the real silence is very rich. And if you ever touch the space of silence, maybe in meditations or in live, whatever, it's so loud, in fact. I remember when this time I arrived to Tiru from Varanasi and others, and then I arrived in the night, and then I like went to the bed. And it was so silent that I couldn't even sleep because the silence was so loud. It was like the mind had to like, relax into this because it's not loud because of thoughts or anything. No, it's just the pure silence as it's so rich. The presence of it, it's so loud in a way.
The location also.
Yeah. But it happened also in different, not only there. This is just like the last kind of most intense, but it can happen anywhere where the silence. It even has this kind of it activate this. If you ever heard this like sound, it can kind of the like ultrasound, like a little bit. How I experience when I come deep into silence, I hear in kind of ultrasound in my brain. And from what I heard, once I don't know, or read somewhere or somebody told me, the more and more when we come into true silence, we starting to hear how blood is moving through our bodies, through our brain. That's what the sound we hear. And it's like kind of something like this.
When you can tune into the blood, it's like it's got this. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's also that's what's so loud because we like no, it's no thoughts, it's nothing, but it's like this silence is everything so loud, so alive, and then you realize, whoa, in fact, it's not boring at all. And it's kind of, we afraid to stay in emptiness, but when we let to go there, we're realizing that it's not empty. It's not empty the way like the mind think or afraid to be empty. And the silence, what absolutely transmutes our narrow signals and the way how we see and perceive the reality, where it's kind of fully stop the thinking process. That the mind might think, oh, but if I don't think, how I would live, but in fact you would live perfectly. I had this experience in my life where after Vipassana, my mind stopped, and for several months there was no thoughts. They were appearing when it was needed, like, for example, to speak with somebody or to message something. And then again, it's like silence. And there was no normal way of thinking. And I never felt lighter in my life. Because when I don't need constantly regret the souls, I'm constantly in the present moment. It's just so light and pure that there's no heaviness. There's just like a light in every moment. And this silence, yeah, it's rich. It's kind of, I love how Richard Russell said that real silence is pregnant. And you can tap into this and you can feel into this. It's like the divine, the cosmos pregnant with itself. It's not like how said the man, like the human created the digital silence, like techno silence that is empty. And that's what the thing with silence is, but it's a fake silence. And like this painting, it's a Buddha, and inside it's a golden Buddha with a lotus. It's like it's empty, but it's so full with this purity. So yeah, maybe we call time to meditation right now.
Yeah, for 10 minutes, 6.
Yes. Let's just sit in silence.
Mhm.
No guidance, nothing to do today. Just presence and silence. Cup of tea. Let the silence penetrate you and so deep. Slowly find a way to come back. Maybe you want to stretch. Maybe rub your arms. Maybe shake your body. Whichever feels more comfortable for you. Until you will be ready to open your eyes. Remaining in the silence and see how you can even speak also from silence. Something that came through while I was in the meditation, something that I forget to mention, in fact, that 24 is a program partner of 44. The program partner of 44. And 44 is a karmic relationship. And you have it in your life's work. That means the 24 is your evolution. And what it said, it's like when we have some difficulties in a relationship, that's they are showing us our addictions, our patterns. What can help is the innovation or reinvention. What we do, we look to our partner from a perspective of CD. We try to see our partner as he or she is embodying the CD, even if it's not, even if he's acting in a shadow. But we, instead of seeing the shadow, we try to see different, like reinvent. And in fact, our awareness will activate the higher frequency in our partner. And as a result in ourselves, because by focusing on somebody's light, in fact, we focusing on our own life. Because to be in a moment, remember of somebody's light and focus on it, when, for example, person in a shadow requires me standing apart and being grounded in light. So it's then beneficial for most, for everybody. Very good. Yeah. You want to share anything or remain in silence? Up to you.
It's funny, my mom messaged me last night. The last thing she wrote to me was karmic relationships. Because I don't know, she was watching this podcast with Shaolin Master Monk, you know, this famous guy, Shaolin Monk. And he was talking about the 5 hindrances, you know, laziness, So I just, interesting now. It's coincidence and maybe serendipity there, but I should look into the silence for the answers. I feel now I want to go and do a long Vipassana. I'm so like, I need to go now and do Vipassana. But maybe even this idea of needing to is limited, but something like, yeah, just explore the silence more. Yeah, invitation to. Yeah, that's a deep place, huh?
I just want to share, like, I'm very grateful to witness you and sharing whatever comes through, you know. there's so much wisdom in you. In fact, you can look into your eyes and it feels like there's multiverse within you. And it's such a beautiful quality that I really see.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you for shiny presence. You're like wise and little angel at the same time. You're like a wise tree and little fairy. At the
Fairy
same-
godmother.
Oh, I was embodying Cali this morning.
See,
I
no
have
idea.
no idea.
When I drank that shoe pour, I embodied Kali. I just felt like zing, Dalini Shakti.
Rasa keeps coming to me. We talked about it earlier when you were talking about flavors. But here on the island, rasa is so important. The local Indonesians, all of them speak about rasa,
What's rasa?
flavor,
Um,
flavor, and it's so important to it. And it's all different forms and tones. Maybe I can speak and feel the rasa of silence, like you were saying. You know, going dash or
Yeah.
with that, but if the food is bland, there's like, oh, get out of rasa. There's no.
Sound like me this morning.
It's not burning.
Same.
I mean, because they wanna, like, the next morning they have to feel it. If they don't feel it, somewhere on the toilet is like, oh, I'm not like that again. I need something to like get some action going.
Reminds me of somebody.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I did I was in India
Did I miss that one?
for
Yeah.
Christmas and I cooked for my landlord and his family and I did a risotto with a lot of cheese. I was like, I thought, but I wanted something Western, you know. And I thought they would love it, but they didn't really, and it was so good for me.
It's
that-
tolerable.
it was like, wait, it's not sweet. It's not really like
Mm.
what they say. There's no spice, so it's not sweet. I was like, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's how it's supposed to be.
It
Funny.
was funny.
Thank you.
It's rasa in their ritual too.
It's the ritual.
And their ceremony. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, another barong, you know, that's
And
very
it-
flavorful. That's gamelan, it's very flavorful to the ears.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to iterate in my question. Is like, for one person, the rasa is God. It's what leads them to like their idea of fulfillment. And in that space, they can really find something quite kind of supernatural, something
Yeah.
prophetic there, you know, like, but for maybe some other person's perspective, it's like, it's a still limiting belief. And there's this, it's, you know, I the only thing I can compare it to is when in my guru is always speaking of the gunas, you know, in the Ayurveda and in the Tantra yoga. Scene is about what you're sharing is the pure consciousness itself, a light of consciousness. It is not particular. It doesn't have one specific thing, identity, or flavor. Just is. That's sattvic guna. And then what you're saying, the rasa, well, that's would be more the rajasic guna, rajas guna, which is more about like the interplay of like the activity that the mind wants, and sometimes that guna is there. Well, without it, there's no life. There's no like, you cannot have a, you know, nice spicy curry or a salty or any kind of thing, you know. So there's that, and then there's the absence of things altogether, because even the sattvic guna it's still a thing. It's still something. It's consciousness. It's still that. It's kind of a paradox, but it's still something. It's consciousness. But there's even the absence of consciousness itself. That would be the tamas guna, just like sheer like inertia, and that also is something. So it's three different like dimensions, three different ways to feel. That's the only thing how I can share or explain about like the difference between like flavor and no flavor. This is what kind of filter we put on the world, then we will experience it from there.
That's something.
Sattvic, yeah.
Sattvic, where you eat only white foods.
Yes.
Milk.
Like raw vegan diet, raw, yeah.
Yeah, no onions, no garlic.
Raw vegan diet, no, yeah, maybe no
White
onions,
food, like
no garlic.
Potatoes.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's gonna give you that quality of purity, right? Because there's no interference. It's a bit like when I was sharing about the experience I had with the tea. Of course, it still had a process there, but there's minimal process, and you can feel it. The mind is no longer like, I feel no motors burning in me. It's more like, it's like a walk, a brisk walk in the morning. Yeah.
And what combine all of this?
Hmm?
What combine all of this?
What combine all of it?
Like the sattva, the raja, the tamas.
Well, it's one way of seeing the world. It's not really, you can't really combine.
Or I would say
It's-
what remains when all of this gone? The same
Absence of
question.
everything. But it's because I'm bringing the mind into I'm bringing like the form into something which what you're speaking about is formless. But I'm saying as long as I'm in existence, it's funny, I have a connection with Ganesh, and I was reading one of my old tenants, he left a book on Ganesh Upanishad, and I was reading, it's like Ganesh is the saguna, the with form of the non-existence. So like Ganesh is the form of non-existence. If you were to have something that closely kind of resembles the non-existence or the Brahman state, this Ganesh. And I was just thinking about how like, yeah, how do we embody consciousness, non-existence into existence? Well, it's the constant life's biggest mystery. So
Goodness, you know,
yeah,
we
maybe.
figured
You
out.
want to share anything, Martin?
I think I'm shared out, but I think we need to close the circle.
Okay.
So we have beautiful music here tonight with Lola and friends.
It's the time check, it's 5:10.
Yeah, so they need to set up and a good fun.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you. Wow.
Good to be
Ooh,
back.
yes, good.
Yeah, I
Gene
just,
Keys and Tea 2.0.
Yeah.
Were you in Egypt?
I was in Egypt, yeah.
How was it?
I will share after we'll close the
We need
circle
to
And they
now
need to
No,
organize.
because we need to set up for the music, but we can
Yeah. Yes,
sit a little bit after. Yeah.
and
Okay.
before we close, I just want to send my gratitude to the teachers for today, for sharing. I think it was a little bit, beyond the beyond. Or it was into the gap.
Yeah.
It was special, and as someone who hasn't touched alcohol for more than 30 years, tonight I felt like, just kept feeling like.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So I'm gonna.
You were-
That one, like.
you were,
Yeah.
yeah,
Bit of a, but like
You
when
went
the
into the
energy is
gap.
right around this table, it is a bit of a high, you know.
Right, and we talk
Yeah,
about
I
addiction,
went
what
to the
about,
time, I felt high.
yeah, Richard Bragg, I mean, who's addicted to tea ceremony?
Yes,
There's
okay.
good
I love it.
addictions and bad addictions.
there you go.
Let's-
That's the final
That's the final word.
message. There's some good, there's some bad.